So now that you have a tremendous amount of information about coaching, let's review. Let's start with what is life coaching? Because when you think about it, life coaching is a lot of things. So we're going to be talking about that. But first of all, I want you to think about your own concepts of it. You've already been through a lot of information. You've got a lot more information than you had before the program. You've got a lot of depth of information. You know how to use the information. So what is life coaching? Think about that now. What is it to you? Before I offer any ideas about what it is, I want you to think about what it is to you. It's multifaceted, it's dynamic, it's something that's going to work for you in terms of creating a business for you, in terms of helping your clients. But how does that happen? What is life coaching? And as you probe that in your mind, as you delve into that, I want you to just now take a moment and think about the things that you've learned in this program. Just let them flow, perhaps as random thoughts. Sure, you're going to go back over specific modules, learn specific things in more detail. You're going to do research on your own. But right now, with the information you have, I want you to just let it float through your mind and see what comes up for you. What is life coaching? Because this answer is going to help you determine how you want to market yourself, or what you want to bring to your clients, or even the types of clients you're going to attract to you. It's interesting, when I was working as a hypnotherapist in Los Angeles, I noticed that there were numerous hypnotherapists in Los Angeles, but they all had unique followings, if you will. They all had unique clients who had come to them. There was one lady who had very spiritually minded clients come to her. Everyone who came to her was interested in self-awareness and expanding their minds, and not so much interested in making money or stopping smoking or losing weight, but just probing their minds, learning the secrets of the universe through hypnosis. That's a very specific market, and she attracted that because of her thoughts. And then there are other hypnotherapists I knew who only worked with weight loss, or who only worked with helping people stop smoking. I, for a long time, worked with only actors. Actors would come to me. And then, for a while, I worked with almost exclusively salespeople, people who came to me and wanted to make more money in business. And remember, that's not one of my strengths, but by seeing the overall picture of what they were doing that wasn't effective and what they were doing that was effective, I was able to help them and help them move forward to the next level very easily. So as you think about that, let me now give you some of my ideas. Life coaching is about communication. Everything you do, in my opinion, is about communication. You've got to share things with your client. When you help them become self-aware, when you teach them about the VAK, visual auditory kinesthetic, when you teach them to make lists, you're communicating. When you teach them the questions they should ask, the questions they shouldn't ask, you're communicating. When you're finding out their energy levels, you're communicating. You are constantly communicating. There has to be this give and take. You're giving and receiving constantly. And when you do this, you create for yourself a career. When you do this, you create things in your clients' lives that are beautiful and wonderful and allow them to move forward. But it all comes down to communication. Communication is everything. It's what makes the whole idea work. If you have a lot of information and you don't have an effective way to communicate that information to your clients, then you really don't have much, do you? You really don't have a way to work with them. You really don't have any way to help them get to the next level. You may have a tremendous amount of information, yet you have a tremendous inability to communicate it. So you need to make sure your communication skills are top notch. You're always in communication with your client, finding out where they are. And it doesn't always mean that you're emailing them. It doesn't always mean you're texting them or talking with them on the phone or face to face. We talked about the various forms of communication. Sometimes it just means that you're getting your point across. Sometimes it just means that you're understanding what it is they need from you. You see, you're responsible for both ends of communication. You're responsible for making sure they understand what you're talking about and that you understand what they are talking about. So never place the communication responsibility solely on them, because you may find out it's a one-way street and you're not really communicating anything. If there's a communication breakdown, it is your job to fix it. It's your job to get in there and tinker with it until there's no longer a communication breakdown. Because as I've said, what happens when things aren't going well? You will eventually be blamed for it. And of course, it will lead to, you know what happens next. Let's avoid that. Let's keep you working for them. And to do that, you need to make sure things are clear. Communication is flowing properly. You're giving them information they can use. They're giving you information you can use so that you can give them more information they can use. So it's not as if you're just saying things and telling them things or emailing things to them. It's that they are taking that information and they are using it and they're giving you feedback. That's the way communication works. I say something, you listen, you reflect, you say something, I listen, I reflect, I say something. Make sure that's happening with your clients. Also, creating value. You must create value in their lives. You must hit the target, or at least have them focused on hitting the target. There must be value that you're bringing to the table. When you work with them, it's really not good enough just to have good communication. It's nice that you have a talk with them and that they understand what's going on and that you understand what they don't understand and you clear that up with them. That's communication. But in and of itself, it's not good enough. It's not good enough to get them anywhere. It's just a fundamental stepping stone. It's a building block. Creating value is what you want to do. You want to always be there to create value. You want to have something to bring to the table that really allows them to benefit from what's going on, that really allows them to benefit from everything that's taking place. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of communication. And you've had this happen. You've had communication with people, and it's great that you're communicating and maybe you're on the same page and everything, but there's a value that's not being created. You're not advancing it. You're not using that energy, that power you have of communication to go forward and go somewhere. So when you have, for example, a husband and wife or a boyfriend and girlfriend or business partners who have great communication and they're communicating with each other and they understand each other, but they're not using that energy to build something, to move forward, then there's no value being created. The value comes when you build on things. You start with communication. If communication isn't there, you need to work on it. That's what you need to make sure is there so that everyone's on the same page. Everyone knows what's going to happen, but then something needs to happen. There needs to be value created. If you're not creating value in the lives of your customers, they have no reason for continuing to pay you. When you think about a husband and wife, there's really not the burden there to create value. Of course, they should be creating wonderful moments in their lives. That's the value. But it's not the same exactly as when someone's paying you to do something. You should feel a little bit of tension. That's positive. That's productive. You can use that tension, that little uneasiness you feel that I must create value. That's going to keep you employed. Feeling that you must continually create value for them is going to be a feeling that's going to help you continue to get clients and continue to help clients. Let's talk about the coaching model. Now, you remember the coaching model. In the first consultation, you're spending about 30 to 60 minutes with them, and you may be charging a small fee or you may not be charging anything at all. This is your opportunity to explain the terms and conditions to them, your opportunity to tell them what's going on, what they can expect from you, from themselves. You're going to let them know your pricing, what you charge. It's important that they understand what you charge. Before they get into any kind of contractual agreement with you, they need to clearly understand what you charge. No hidden fees. Everything should be up front. If you throw in free sessions every now and then, let them know that. If you charge extra for extra phone calls, let them know that. They don't want any surprises. Also discuss the forms of communication, the way you're going to deal with them. They need to understand how you're going to be in touch with them, what is appropriate and what's not, and you need to come to some sort of an agreement. Maybe there's a way of communicating that's comfortable for you, but it's not comfortable for them. Therefore, it's not going to work out. You need to come to a common ground. So, in your first consultation, you need to make that very clear. And you need to discuss the way that the communication is going to happen. Perhaps you're an email person who gets your email and you check it every day at 5 o'clock. Maybe you check it twice a day, or maybe you check it all day long. You need to let them know that, how they can expect to be communicated with when they communicate with you. And once you do that, they're going to understand what's going on, and there aren't going to be any surprises. They're not going to feel let down if, for example, an email sits there all day. They're going to know that at 5 o'clock, that's when you answer your email. This is also your opportunity when you initially talk with them to develop rapport. You've got to have rapport with them in order to do anything. So part of your model and part of everything that you do with them should constantly involve rapport. You need to understand this. It's very important that you understand rapport. Your coaching model can be anything you want it to be, really, but it should be something that works, something that when you start out, you feel it's going to work, and eventually, through trial and error, you're going to find out it does work. If it doesn't, you need to change things, of course. But realize that what's very helpful is a non-directive approach. Remember that from our discussion on the coaching model, a non-directive approach. Rather than imposing your solutions on them, that may help them now. You may look at the situation and think, of course, the answer is A. Come on, the answer is A. Go ahead and pick A. Did that really help them? How about this? How about letting them come to their own conclusion? And if they choose B instead of A, and you know it should be A, how about continuing to coach them? Remember, you're a coach. Coach them until they get to the right answer and they see how it happened. They see the process that happened in order for them to get to that answer. That's of tremendous value to them. Remember that you support and guide your clients to find the answers, and you discuss options with them. Rather than recommending options, you discuss the options and let them choose from the menu. Guide them if you feel that they're going astray. Ask open questions as part of your coaching model. Remember, you don't have to have a set plan, a definite plan in place. What you can do through a series of procedures like this is get them to figure it out for themselves. They can get there, but asking open questions is wonderful, such as a very basic question, what do you think is the right answer? Or what do you feel your options are? And then narrowing down from there. And, of course, actively listen as part of your coaching model. You should actively listen to everything they say. That's going to help you help them get to the next level. I want to thank you for choosing me as your coach. I want to thank you for allowing me to work with you. I want to thank you for allowing me to step into your life and to create value for you and to create what hopefully will turn into a career for you, something that you can bring to the table. And if you do not become a full-time life coach, perhaps you have another career where you're a counselor of some sort, for example, like myself, a hypnotherapist, and you just want to use life coaching, I hope you use this information consistently, and what you're going to find is that you get better and better at it as you go. You're going to grow in proportion to the effort you put into something. So I want you to take advantage of opportunities to learn more about life coaching and to delve more deeply into any of these specific areas that we may have talked about. But I really want you to know that it's an honor for me that you have chosen to work with me, because I know there are a lot of life coaches out there. They bring their own unique flavor to any situation. And I bring my experience, my over 20 years experience of working with people to the table. That's what I'm offering to you. I know what works. I know how to work with people, how to not work with people. So by knowing that, I'm able to share that with you. And hopefully what you've seen in this program is that a lot of that is wide open. A lot of that is created in the moment. A lot of that should be something that's not following a set pattern, but rather is open, because that lends itself to future expansion. If you understand that something you're sharing with your client is something that's dynamic and that they can use in the future, then you've benefited them well beyond that narrow situation that you're helping them with. You have given them something that's going to help them in many aspects of their lives, that's going to carry over into so many other things that they do. And so, through my years of experience with life coaching, I have realized that your value that you bring to the table goes way beyond the table. The table lasts the rest of their lives. They're able to make decisions that are very empowering for them for a long time to come. And they are also able to refer other people to you. Or if you give their number to someone, say, hey, call them and see what I did for them. They're able to say positive things about what you did, because you didn't just help solve that particular challenge. You gave them the tools that they have been using ever since then. And everything that's happened to them ever since, they can in some way attribute to the work they did with you. So that's what you're creating, and I'm honored that you chose me to allow you to create that. If you have any questions, I invite you to email me. I invite you to ask your questions. I invite you to bring them to me. I invite you to share them with me. By you asking questions from me, it allows me to grow also. Perhaps you're experiencing something with your clients that I haven't experienced specifically. By you bringing that question to me, you allow me some growth. You allow me to see things through your eyes, to have an experience through your experience that allows me to grow. Also, it allows me to know that you're on the right track, because sometimes you're going to run across a situation that's entirely new to you. Perhaps you've been dealing with actors, then suddenly someone comes to you and they want to do well in business. And you're thinking, wait a minute, I've kind of become the specialist on actors. Now I've got to switch to business. I should write Steve G. Jones an email and find out how I can make this transition and make sure I'm on the right track here. And that's fine, because I want you at every step of the way to be comfortable. I want you to be bringing value to people's lives. I want you to be directing them in a way that's very powerful and very helpful. And the way that I'm going to be assured that you are on the right track is by you letting me know if you have any questions. So many times when people get out there into the quote-unquote real world, they hesitate to ask questions because they think that they're supposed to be the experts. But you'll see medical doctors opening a book and reviewing a procedure before an operation. That happens. You'll see lawyers opening reference books and reading about a case before they do something that applies to that case that's similar to it. References are very powerful. I want you to know that one of the references you have access to is me. You can ask me questions. So rather than hesitating, rather than living in doubt, rather than throwing your hands up and saying, I don't know how to deal with this, just ask me. Ask me, because chances are I've been through something that's very similar to that, and I will be able to offer you some value. I will be able to bring something to you that you hadn't thought about. Sometimes just reaching out to another person can be very helpful. So rather than only asking me questions, how about reaching out to colleagues of yours? Asking them questions. What would you do? Maybe you're a life coach and your friend's a psychiatrist or a psychologist. By reaching out to them and saying, hey, if you were me, what would you do? Or how did you make the transition from working with a certain type of client to another type of client? You're going to find that by reaching out to other professionals you know and trust and value their opinion, you are going to learn tremendously rather than just keeping that to yourself. When you reach out, you really gain tremendously. You gain a lot of value, and you allow them to gain also. You allow them to learn something or refresh something in their minds. So to learn more, I invite you to visit the website, check it out, find out more, click on the link, find out what else you can learn. There's always somewhere to go. There's always something else you can learn. There's always the next level. And by taking the time to find out what you don't know yet, you fill in a lot of the blanks. You learn something that perhaps you didn't even know that you didn't know. and you learn something that contributes to not only your life, not only building your business, but contributes to what you're really doing here, which is helping your clients. The more you learn more, either at this website or elsewhere, the more you learn, the more you're going to be able to contribute to the lives of your clients. So I encourage you to learn as much as you possibly can, to learn as much about life coaching as you possibly can. And just like Bill Gates, I encourage you to read a variety of information to fill your brain with ideas that have to do with things that you're not necessarily fully interested in, because they're going to, first of all, give your mind a little mental vacation, a little candy bar, if you will. They're also going to open your mind to thinking about things in ways that you haven't thought about them yet. And when you do this, when you open your mind to looking at a challenge differently, you find that different solutions present themselves, solutions which wouldn't ordinarily be clear. Sometimes we get so caught up in focusing on doing things a certain way and with accepting a certain amount of success and a certain amount of failure that we really don't look at any other way of doing it. This is what happens over time if we fail to expand, we fail to look for other information. But when we open our minds to other information, we find new ways of doing what we've been doing. We find updated ways. We find ways that other people are doing it that works. So when you step out of that narrow focus, which we all tend to develop from time to time, and realize that your knowledge can constantly be expanded upon, can constantly be growing, can constantly be developing and getting more and more rich. Your knowledge, when it becomes more rich, translates into your clients having a better experience with you. When you bring that wealth of knowledge to the table with your clients, things go better. Your clients get to where they want to be more quickly. And what happens then is that your reputation goes up. More clients come to you. You can raise your rates. You can help more people. Most importantly, you can feel good about what you are doing. I'm Steve G. Jones, hoping you have an outstanding career.